Hello Year 3 and welcome to today's writing lesson. Today in writing we are going to write plot point 2 of our Charlie and the Chocolate Factory narrative. This plot point is called No Golden Ticket. Now we left off yesterday with Charlie wolfing down his chocolates. He'd found that 50 pence in the snow and bought 1 bar of chocolate from the shopkeeper. Now to begin with, we're going to think in a bit more detail of how he is eating this chocolate and what the shopkeeper might say to him. So to begin with, alternatives for the word eating. I just gave you one. I gave you wolfing. He could be wolfing down the chocolate, and I think that's the word that they use in the book. You could also say he is gulping down the chocolate. Your turn. Pause the video. What other words can you come up with instead of eating? Off you go. Okay, let's have a little look. Did you get the same as me, or have you got some different ones? I have got rushing and I have got devouring. If you've got these words, you might want to tick them off your list. If you haven't, you might want to add them. Okay, let's have a look at our next list of words to create our sentence. So next we're going to think about what the shopkeeper says. Charlie is stuffing this chocolate piece by piece into his mouth. We go back to our picture. His cheeks are bulging and he's shoveling it in. Oh, there's another word, shoveling. What might the shopkeeper say to him? He might give him a bit of a warning. He might say, be careful. He might say, slow down. Your turn. What else might the shopkeeper say to Charlie as he's shoveling all of this chocolate into his mouth? Pause the video. Off you go. Well done, Year 3. Okay, let's have a little look. So I said slow down. He might also say you might choke. He'd be worried about him. And we did say last lesson that this shopkeeper was a kind man. He had that twinkle in his eye. So he might be giving him a warning. A bit worried about him. Okay, let's have a look. Last list, 3 lists today. So now we want alternatives to said. Charlie is wolfing down the chocolate and the shopkeeper is going to say something to him, give him a bit of a warning, make sure he's okay. And then we're going to say he said it. So we're going to actually do some speech. We're going to use our inverted commas for speech. So what could we say instead of said? Now we could use words like whispered, but we've just said that the shopkeeper's giving him a warning. Trying to give him a suggestion, trying to give him a comment, trying to say something to help him. So we want words like those. So we could have warned, we could have suggested. What else could we have? Your turn. Pause the video. What other words could you have for said? Off you go. Okay, tick them off if you've got these. I've got commented. Cautioned, that's a good one, because he is a bit worried about him. Urged, advised. I think that's all of mine. You might have more than me, and if you have, well done. You might want to use those. So for our first sentence, we are going to write some speech. We're going to use our inverted commas, our speech marks, and we're going to use these 3 lists of ideas to form this sentence. Charlie is wolfing his chocolate and the shopkeeper is a bit concerned about him. Be careful, lad. You'll be sick if you keep eating that quickly. The shopkeeper warned. Okay, be careful, lad. You'll be sick if you keep eating that quickly. Now that is what my shopkeeper says. So therefore, I need my 66 and my 99. Be careful, lad. You'll be sick if you keep eating that way, the shopkeeper warned. And that is my speech. I'm going to write another sentence. Charlie went on, and I'm now going to use one of my words from my eating list. Charlie went on gulping the chocolate bar. So, you are going to use some speech, some dialogue, using your 66 and your 99, your inverted commas, your speech marks at the beginning and at the end. You are going to use an alternative for said, the shopkeeper suggested, or suggested the shopkeeper, cautioned the shopkeeper. We like that word, that might be a good one to use. And then finally, you're going to say Charlie just carries on eating. You're going to use one of these words instead of eating. So 2 sentences to begin with. When you've written your sentences, you can deepen the moment. How does Charlie feel as he's shoveling this chocolate into his mouth? Pause the video and write your sentences. Off you go. Okay, let's have a look at the next chunk. So, in this chunk here, we are going to use the conjunction but. Before we talk about that word, we're going to come over here. So we're going to gather together negative statements about there being no golden ticket. So Charlie's found this 50p. He's handed it over to the shopkeeper. He's been given some chocolate. He opens it up. There is no prize. There is nothing inside. So, some negative comments about there being no ticket. So we could have, there was no golden ticket. Or we could have, there was no prize. What else could we have? Pause the video and have a think. What else could we have to say there was nothing inside? Off you go. Wonderful. Okay, so we've got there was no golden ticket, there was no prize, he hadn't won this time. And you might have some more. They could potentially be better than mine. If they are, use them in your writing. Now we're going to use the conjunction but between these two here. There was no golden ticket, but. And when we use the conjunction but, the other side of the sentence is positive. We have negative on one side, but, and a positive on the other. And we have 2 sentences because we create what we call a compound sentence using the conjunction but. So there was no golden ticket, that bit will make sense by itself, and whatever we put on the other side will also make sense by itself. So what could be a positive for the chocolate? Because I mean, Charlie is wolfing this chocolate, he's enjoying it, so there's got to be some positives. His mouth tingled with sweetness. Okay, there's mine, your turn. Pause the video. What else could be positive about the chocolate? Off you go. Okay, let's have a look at what I've got. His tummy had stopped rumbling. He was so hungry before. Or he'd had something better than cabbage soup. Oh, and I imagine that chocolate was a lot better than cabbage soup. So now I'm going to choose one of these negative statements. I'm going to use conjunction but, and then I'm going to use one of these positive statements to create my sentence. He hadn't won this time, but his mouth tingled with sweetness. That's mine. What's yours? You might have come up with different ideas than me, and if you have, use them because they'll be creative and fantastic. You could do, there was no prize, but his tummy had stopped rumbling. Your turn. Pause the video. Off you go. Don't forget to deepen the moment. Okay, final chunk. So, we are going to begin with alternatives to the word thought. We're now going to think. Charlie's going to think about something. So, alternatives to thought. I'll give you a few and then it'll be your turn. We could have pondered. He pondered. We could have contemplated. Your turn. What else could we have? Charlie's thinking about something. What words could we use? Pause the video. Off you go. Okay, let's have a little look what else I got. Here are mine. Pondered, wondered, contemplated, mused, or reflected. All words that tell us that Charlie is thinking. Now we're going to write adverbs. Now, adverbs we've written before are things like in the distance or a few hours later, but this time I want one word time adverbs. So I want to know when, and I only want one word. An example would be next. Your turn. What else can you think of? Pause the video. Okay, here are a few more. First, then, afterwards, and you might have some others. Okay, for our final part, we are actually going to write 3 sentences. The power of 3. Charlie is thinking, and I'm going to use 3 thought words, and each time I'm going to start with a time adverb. I'm not going to start with afterwards. It wouldn't make sense. Afterwards, he contemplated. First, he wondered. Not the right way round. So we've got to make sure we use our time adverbs in order if they need to be in order. This is where reading it through is going to help you out. Make sure you check it. First, he thought. We start with the word thought. Next, he contemplated. Then, he wondered. 3 sentences. 3 different words for thought. Now, I made a mistake there with my capital letters and I had to correct it. I'm hoping you are doing the same at home. Read it through and check it. So, 3 alternatives for thought. Each sentence starts with a time adverb, a one-word time adverb. Your deepen the moment is here. Miss Daly and I are really looking forward to seeing these narratives, so send them over when you've done. Check your full stops and your capital letters. Off you go. See you soon.